Summer is in full swing at the Dollar Tree. In today's video, I'm sharing bright and colorful Dollar Tree DIYs perfect for summer. These fruit-inspired home decor crafts are super easy, fun to make, and totally budget-friendly. Whether you're decorating your kitchen, patio, or party space, these summer hacks will bring the sunshine inside. At my Dollar Tree, they had these fruit-themed napkins, and I thought these lemon ones were so bright and sunny and perfect for summer. In addition to the napkin, I'm also using a wood round and a wooden arrow that I got from the Crafter's Square section. I did create a decal using my Cricut that says welcome, but if you don't have a Cricut, you could use poster stickers or scrapbooking stickers. I wanted to give my wooden arrow a coat of paint first. It does come with a rope hanger, and I wanted to keep that to use for later, so I just used a piece of painter's tape and taped it to the back so it would be out of my way. Then I used some darker yellow chalk paint that I thought went well with that napkin, and I gave my arrow one coat. I set that aside to dry, and then I got to work on my wood round. I'm using some Mod Podge here, and I'm just brushing a light coat all over the surface. After my Mod Podge had dried completely, I took one of those lemon napkins and opened it up the whole way, and you can see it fits pretty perfectly on this wood round. There are 2 layers to this napkin, so I peeled off the inside layer, and then I laid my lemon over top of my wood round, and I'm using a big heat press here. This is overkill for this project, but this is the only thing I have in my craft room. I really need to get one of those mini heat presses for projects like this, but all you have to do is apply some heat to the surface of the napkin, and it reactivates that Mod Podge so that it sticks to it, and then this way you don't get the wrinkles in the paper like you would do if you applied the Mod Podge wet. After I did an initial pressing, I just went through and checked the edges to make sure that I got clear to the edge so that they were nice and adhered down. Then there was a little bit of excess napkin around the edges, so I just took a nail file and I ran it down over the top of the surface and removed any of that excess. I wanted to create a scrappy bow for at the top of my lemon, so I went through my ribbon, lace, and trim stash, and I gathered up anything that was yellow or white or a print of the 2. And then I just started cutting everything down to about 9 inches, and I made sure that I cut 2 pieces of each ribbon or lace. After I had a nice big pile of ribbons and trims, I went through on some of the ribbons that had just a solid edge, and I either cut them on a slant to create a point, or I folded them in half and cut a V shape to create a dovetail. I didn't do this for all of the laces and trims, just the ones that had a really blunt edge. Then I took a piece of the thinnest ribbon that I had, I cut a pretty long length, and I laid it on my work surface. Then, starting with my smaller ribbons and trims, I started laying them on it in an X pattern on top of that ribbon, and I tried to make sure that I alternated between colors and patterns so that I would have a variation in the colors as I was stacking them. And then I just worked my way from my smallest ribbons up to my widest ribbons. Once I had everything laid down, then that initial piece of thin ribbon that I had laid down, I used that to tie around the whole thing to cinch it in the center. Of course, if bows aren't your thing, you don't have to add one at all. I think this sign would be cute without it, or you could even add some leaves and flowers to the top too. After I finished making my bow, my paint was all dry on my wooden arrow, so then I took the decal that I had created and I just laid it on the surface. Now, like I said before, if you don't have a Cricut or a cutting machine, you could use some of the poster stickers that you can get at the Dollar Tree, or if you're a scrapbooker, if you dig through your sticker stash, I'm sure you have a bunch of alphabet stickers that would work for this also. Since there were already holes drilled at the top of this wood round, I decided to reuse those and create a new hanger. I just used a pokey tool and punched through that napkin, and then using some of that thin yellow ribbon that I had used in the scrappy bow, I went from the back side to the front side and I tied it a few times in a knot so that it wouldn't come back through, and then I cut the length that I needed and did the same thing on the other side. Now I was ready to put everything together, so I added a little hot glue to my scrappy bow and just hot glued it off center at the top. I flipped everything over, and using that jute hanger that came on that arrow sign, I just cut it in half, and that's what I used to attach my arrow to the bottom of my lemon. I used some hot glue and I laid those jute twine strings into it, and then I used a little bit of clear tape to hold them in place while the glue set. I did notice on the Dollar Tree website that these napkins come in lemons, watermelons, and limes. I think they would all make really cute signs. Let me know in the comments which fruit you would pick. If you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know I love to make coasters for the different seasons or to give as gifts. In the Crafter Square section, they had these ceramic tiles in a 2-pack that would be perfect for that. They come in square and round. My store had only one set of the round, so I used the square ones for this. And just a few shelves up from those tiles, they had these little wooden boxes, and they were in 2 sizes. The smaller one is the perfect size to hold these coasters. What I really liked about these ceramic tiles is they had an unfinished surface. There's no glaze or anything on them, so no matter what you do to them, whatever, if you put paint or anything like that, it'll adhere really well. I also liked that it already came with a cork backing, so that was one step that I didn't have to do. I wanted to give my wooden box a coat of paint before I got started on the coasters, so I'm just using some white chalk paint, and I painted every surface. I did the outside, the inside, the top, and the bottom. I'm using another one of these lemon napkins on my coasters. I did the same thing as before. I peeled off the inside sheet, so I was only using a single sheet of the napkin. Now this napkin is folded into 4, so it made it really easy. I just cut up on the creases so that I had 4 different sections of my lemon. I gave my coaster one thin coat of Mod Podge, and then I laid one of those sections of napkins into it. Now these are going to be a little bit abstract, so if that's not really your style, you could always Mod Podge on some lemon stickers or some other kind of fruit themed window cling. You could do anything with these coasters, or if you're really good at hand painting, you could also hand paint on some of your favorite summer fruits. But I thought this would be a really neat set of coasters, and because there are 4 sections to the napkin, it was easy to create a set of 4 coasters. Now once that initial layer of Mod Podge dried completely, then I used my nail file and ran it down over the surface to cut off the excess napkin. After I had all of the excess napkin taken off the edges of the coasters, then I started sealing them in with a few more layers of Mod Podge. Now, I mentioned before on another set of coasters that I use the dishwasher safe Mod Podge when I'm sealing them in. I don't do that because I want to put it in the dishwasher. It's just that Mod Podge is meant to be able to tolerate higher heat temperatures. So if you're putting a hot beverage on these coasters, the dishwasher safe Mod Podge will protect it just a little bit more. I wanted to decorate up my wooden box just a little bit, so I happen to have some of this lemon ribbon in my stash. I got this from the Dollar Tree, but I haven't seen it there recently, but any kind of coordinating ribbon would work. I added a little bit of hot glue and I started wrapping it around the center. Now, whenever I'm gluing ribbon on something, I try not to use too much hot glue because it tends to seep through the ribbon and you can see it. So as you can see here, I'm just adding hot glue to the very corners of my box, and then I'm laying my ribbon into that hot glue. As a final touch, I took that same ribbon, I cut one length, I added a knot in the center, and then I dovetailed both of the ends so that it kind of looked like a bow tie, and I hot glued that over where the 2 ends of my ribbon meet. Now, if you're going to give this set of coasters as a gift, I think it would be really cute if you took the same coordinating ribbon that you wrapped around your box and just tied it around the set of coasters before you place them in the box, and this would make a really sweet gift. I wanted to add a bright pop of color to the inside of our camper. So from the summer section of the Dollar Tree, I grabbed 4 dish towels in this fun citrus print. Along with those dish towels, I'm using some pom-pom trim that I already had on hand to create some really fun throw pillows. I laid one of my dish towels out and then I cut 2 lengths of that pom-pom trim, one in each color, so that it ran the same length as the dish towel. Then I took a second dish towel and I laid it face down on top of that first one. And you have a couple of options here. You can either sew this pillow or you can just hot glue it. I've done it either way. I did get a sewing machine at the beginning of this year, so I've been trying to use that more. One thing I would recommend, whether you sew this or you hot glue it, is to make sure that you add some straight pins through that trim so that it stays in place as you're sewing or gluing everything together. I also added some straight pins around the outside too, because I did decide to sew one pillow and hot glue one pillow so that you could see the difference. You can't really tell much of a difference whether you're hot gluing or sewing. It just kind of depends on where you're using this, which option you want to do. I have had good luck before though with the Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks when I've hot glued pillows like this. I've even ran them through the washing machine just on a cold cycle and they did okay. But if you think you're going to be washing these pillows more, you might want to sew these. And whenever you sew or hot glue a pillow like this, you just want to leave about 4 or 5 inches open at the bottom so that you could add your pillow stuffing. And then once you have it stuffed to how full you like it, you can just close it up using either method. And keep in mind too, you don't have to add the trim to the front of the pillow. I think the prints on these dish towels are really pretty, and I think they would make great easy pillows just on their own without the added trim. I just happen to have this in my stash already and I thought it would add a nice little embellishment. If you're looking to add some summer fruits to your home decor, but you don't have a lot of time to craft, these projects are for you. I grabbed 2 of these lemon slice cups from the summer section, and I started looking through the solar lights, and I found these cracked glass solar lights, and I was really impressed with them because this is real glass. They're really heavy, but you can use any solar light you choose. To turn these plastic cups into outdoor lighting, I just removed the tops, and because these solar lights are so heavy, I added some river rock to the bottom of my containers to balance them out. I took the stakes off of the solar light and then using a combination of E6000 and hot glue, I hot glued the solar light right to the top of the cup. Now to camouflage the thread at the top of the cup so this doesn't look like a cup anymore, I'm just using some gingham ribbon and I hot glued it around the top, and then I also created a bow out of the same ribbon and hot glued that on too. You know I love a wood bead garland, and I didn't need to do much to this one I found at the Dollar Tree that had this cute lemon slice on the one end. The other end had a tassel, but I didn't care for the flimsy ribbon that was wrapped around the tassel. And one thing I didn't like about this wood bead garland is where they placed the tag on it, it created a big gap in the jute cord, and so the beads weren't on there very snug. To remedy that, I just folded the whole wood bead garland in half, and then using another piece of jute twine, I tied the 2 ends together. And this way I could either lay the wood bead over something as a display, or now that I created a loop at the top, I could also hang it on a doorknob as an added decoration. Now to fix that tassel, all I had to do was slide that ribbon right out. It wasn't glued in or anything, and I liked it much better when it didn't have that ribbon. I like just the jute cord tassel instead. My family likes to have a lot of picnics and cookouts over the summer, so from the party planning section of the Dollar Tree, I grabbed one of these trays that has 3 sections to it. An easy way to decorate this tray is to also grab one of the plastic tablecloths from the summer section. This one also had that fun citrus print that I love so much. I cut off a small piece of that tablecloth so that it would be easier to work with, and you can see there are groups of citrus all over this tablecloth, but I'm going to be working with one of the smaller ones that just has a grapefruit slice and a lemon slice. I cut out around it, and then using some scissors, I'm just cutting the whole thing out. I stayed as close as I could to the pattern. It didn't matter to me if a little bit of that white tablecloth showed. I just wanted to make sure I got as close to the fruit as I could. Now, because there's 3 sections on this party tray, I cut out 3 of these little groups of lemons and grapefruits. But keep in mind, this tablecloth is so big that you could make a whole bunch of these if you wanted to set a few of them up at your next picnic or barbecue. After I had 3 of my fruit groupings cut out, I took some Mod Podge, and on the top side of the fruit pattern, I just laid a really thin coat of Mod Podge. I really took my time and made sure that I got any big clumps of Mod Podge brushed out with my sponge brush. And then on the bottom side of the tray, not the inside of the tray, I'm using the underneath here, I laid my fruit group down on one of the sections, and then I just smoothed it over the edges. The reason I did it this way is because then none of the Mod Podge is actually in the inside of the tray, so I wasn't worried if I laid down any kind of food in there or silverware or anything like that. It's not going to come in contact with the Mod Podge because all of the Mod Podge is going to be on the underneath. Now, I didn't bother sealing over the edges with the Mod Podge because I didn't want to see any of those brush strokes because this is a clear tray. But if you wanted to do that, you could seal it. Just make sure you cover the whole bottom side of the tray, and I think it would blend in okay. And like I said, because this is a 3-section tray, I did 3 different fruit groups, one on each bottom side of the tray. But look around the Dollar Tree because there's a lot of ways that you could do this on other things. You could buy different picture frames and things like that and just go to town cutting the fruit out of the tablecloth and Mod Podging it to whatever you like. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with me again today. If you need even more crafting inspiration, check out one of the videos I left on the screen. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you in the next one.